Hey everyone, G-Force 41 here with another PGA Tour 2K23 casual coaching tips video. We are at EraserGib's latest version of his course. If you remember Casual Coaching 1, we went out to his first hole and gave him some basic tips on strategy and the layout of the hole, etc. He's updated his course. He's got a bunch of holes in now, and he's got something out called version it's 1.2, I think. So I'm going to take a look at it, give him some tips, see how he's doing. I think we're going to play the first 9 holes today, and hopefully soon I'll get around to the back 9. But I think we're going to give him plenty of tips here on course design to keep him busy for a while. But he's come a long way, so looking good, Gib. Gib is, of course, the administrator on Casuals Golf Club who actually puts the tournaments out on the actual game, and so he's running the board and the game and getting everything scheduled out there. I'm scheduling the courses and reviewing courses and all that fun stuff. So, all right. So he's changed his hole dramatically, if it is indeed even the same hole. So I think he's changed it because you've got some floating trees right there off on the left. First thing that comes to mind, actually, let me go back to the tee, is the tee box is not flattened. You can look just at the tee markers. One's buried and one's floating, so that's way off. Something weird's going on. I've gotten a few kind of glitches here. That's me changing to driver. But why is it not driver? Because the spline is here. Truncated fairway to start the course. I don't know if I go with the kind of this fairway that it's truncated and ends and takes driver out of hands on the first hole. When you do this, it's essential that there's a reason for it. We've talked about that before. Here's a good reason. There's nothing wrong with this at all. Can you get a mower on it? No, this is way too steep and it's too big of a hill. So I can see why that's there. Clearly you got the floating trees from, you've sculpted this a little. So just be careful of that any off in the distance whenever you're re-sculpting things, folks. Could maybe, if you had the wind at your back, could you drive this? I don't know what your plan is for this ravine. Or if you're going to put water in there, fine. I just wouldn't do this on the first hole necessarily. There's nothing wrong with it. You could. But if you're going to do it, I'd give it some more room. It's not a wide fairway. I'd give maybe some room out to the left there. Maybe you could throw a driver down there. I don't know. But, it wouldn't be my first choice on a first hole. Let's just say that. So again, there's no hard fast rule on this, but I just kind of odd on the first hole, but not a bad idea if you want to do that. That's fine. Have a green to match. So let's take a quick look at the green. The green's kind of smallish. It's moving. It's got to fall off there, so that might fit the bill there. If you put water there, that might be a good idea. You can make it a kind of a scenic hole to start. But I would give a little bit more room up the fairway, maybe a little bit more room over here. And then, you kind of might want to go at the hole from that direction, from this way. So just think about that. And you can maybe even put some bunkers over there. Give it a little more room over here. Put maybe a bunker over here or something like that. So just careful with that. Again, no hard, fast rule. I'm not one of these people who tells you can't do something. I'm just forewarning you about things that have backfired on me. Keep the first hole simple. Have it be a nice introduction to your course, to the experience you're going to have playing the course, the type of hole, type of design you're putting out in front of us. All right. So the if you're going to do that, the bunker on each side is fine there. It looks like you got a decent green entrance. I'm not sure if you watched my green entrance video, but there's no bump there. You've got an elevated green, and not one of those silly bumps that people don't pay any attention to when they just flatten. A little bathtubby on the bunkers, so we'll take a closer look at the bunkers. That's not necessarily unreasonable. That's a little steep. You could have deep bunkers. Is it out of the question? It's not unrealistic, but I'm not sure you want it that deep. And then take too close a look at the bunkers. But my guess is they're a little bathtubby. The thing on the bunkers, folks, is you don't want them too, what I call bathtubby, concave all the way around and deep. You want a little bit of a flat area, kind of called the pan. and you want the bunker to drive down to that pan and have something that's almost flat, kind of the bottom of your bunker. The sides are going to be elevated almost, every time, but it's just a matter of how much. Okay, so hole 2, again, it's the shortest 4, and we've got a truncated fairway again that stops. So I'm not sure why here. I would hesitate to do that 2 times in a row unless there's a really good reason, like you're playing around a stream or a river. Here, I'm not sure there's a reason for it. I think you can go down there. I would just keep going with this fairway, wrap it around right there. You can make that a series of bunkers. You make those big hills. You can even almost make this kind of like an Alps hole. You can make those hills bigger for whatever reason and give more fairway over here. Either way, I would do that. I would definitely bring the fairway out here. I'm not sure why the fairway pinches here around this. There's a hill. You can make that bigger and put a bunker in there, or just maybe put a series of bunkers in here. Again, 2 or 3 bunkers like I suggested in the first video. But that's just an odd shot there. I don't know why anybody would kind of hit it there, right? So have that fairway going out. You can make it narrow. I think that's fair. And if you want to take the riskier shot and go for the distance down the narrow corridor, go ahead. If not, you can just throw a 3-wood or something way out here. And then you can play with the green a little. Play with the slope of the green and the angle, right? So if you go off to the right, you might not have the best angle in. Here it looks like you do. So maybe that's it's risk or reward. It's a riskier shot off the tee, but you got a good angle and no bunkers to hit over. If you go off to the left, you've got plenty of room, but you're going to go in over those bunkers, especially if that's a tucked pin behind, the front left, something like that. So again, just think strategically, think of options. Try not to take options away from the player. Give them options, just, vary the risk and the reward of said shot. And really, it's distance or angle most of the time, right? So again, your green is elevated, and the entrance looks pretty good. Definitely could use some bunker sculpting and around the bunkers. Again, I did the tutorial on links bunkers. A lot of those ideas apply to just about any bunker. So I haven't done a standard bunker tutorial. I didn't quite think there was the need. Okay, hole 3. Again, yeah, if you sculpted that area, so that was a pretty little scene of the green we just played right behind you. So again, we've stopped the fairway, and driver could be taken out of your hands if the wind, with the wind at my back, I'm not hitting driver here. So you definitely don't want to do that 3 times in a row unless there's a really big reason, a really big river or something. You're meandering through the course. I definitely, the more I think of it, I definitely wouldn't do that on that second hole if you've got this here. I'm not even sure you really need it here, but you've got a decent reason for it. You've got that big hill, so it does end for a reason, right? That's fine. But with the first hole being truncated, again, you just don't want to go to this well too often. 3 times in a row, I would say, I'm going to contradict myself. I would say that's a definite no. You got plenty of room out here to the right, so you can do a few things. You can put some bunkering in here. That's fine. But again, you're gonna hit 3-wood. So the point is, you can't hit driver. So then you're gonna penalize the 3-wood. So I'm not sure I would do that either. I would keep that fairway going. I would give as much room on the fairway if you're gonna keep that hill in there as you can. Bring the fairway all the way up to that hill. Maybe extend it out if you can. Flatten. And then give more room way over here. There's nothing else here, right? So get rid of these trees. And bring the fairway out here. Again, you can play with the angles. One thing you could do, if you make a big, huge fairway, now you can play with the center line bunker. You can put a bunker in the middle of the fairway, and now you can make a decision. Are you going left of this bunker, or are you going right of this bunker out here? And again, you can play with the angle into the green. That's not bad. The green's angled this way, so you do want to have an option kind of way out here. You can make it a little bit more, treacherous. Maybe that's the shorter side of the fairway. And there's some trees over here. If you get blocked behind the trees, you got big trouble. So keep that in mind. But I would definitely want to just keep it like this, okay? So let's just put a 3-wood down here. So just always think strategically, give the player options, good options, have a consequence to the options, but you don't want to just penalize somebody and not really give them multiple options. I'm not saying that's what we're doing here, but I'm just giving you general advice. So I don't know why this is like this and stopped. I think what you're doing is you're going around the green. You did a spline down here, and then you did a second spline around the green here. You just keep it going. I know it might be a pain, but when you're doing this spline for this fairway, incorporate that around the green. I like the kind of ribbon around the green sometimes, depending on what you're doing, especially if it's a smaller green like this is. Again, it's another small green. I think that's a little too small, especially for a hole that's this long, right? I'm coming in from 204 yards. That's kind of small green for that. I kind of like this stadium punch bowl-y effect you've got going here. Definitely think you can maybe incorporate that and give that a little bit more slope. Your slopes are fair. The greens, I like that they're rolling but gently. And it goes off a little in the front, which is perfectly understandable given it's an elevated green from where that fairway is. Not necessarily from me, but from down here. Obviously, the slope of the land, it's an uphill approach if you were down in that little fairway. So you've got some trees there. Again, if you move this fairway out, obviously you got to move those trees. So, I like the smaller greens. You've just got to be careful with them. On a hole this size, I think you need a little bit more room. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. And the greens are rolling 136. I didn't even look at the speed. On the third hole, I had no idea what the speed was. Alright, so far much improved, if you've noticed. And I've played some of the other betas Gib has put out. So definitely it is a long learning curve. Be patient if you're a newer designer. There are plenty of folks who are willing to help and plenty of Reeses out there to help you along as well. That's how I learned. Ask for help from another designer. Me. Put some comments below. Again, look at the tee box. I could just, tell. Sorry, this is the habit. I've said this before since I test my courses so much. I just habitually do this. All right, so I like this. First par 3, it's almost like an Eden hole, a little Eden-y kind of thing going on. It's not quite an Eden. So, again, this green is very small. That's way small. So let's talk about that now. So it's 178 to the front, 199 to the back. So it's about 20 yards. That's tiny. That's pretty small. Not ridiculously small, but here's one catch. It's kind of nice to have the smaller greens if you're doing maybe an old-fashioned type course, an old Donald Ross like I'm kind of doing right now, where the greens are smaller. But what it does is take away the hole locations in the pinnable area. If you're going to have any slope to the green, you're not going to have that much pinnable area, and you're not going to have variation in the hole location and the type of shot you need to hit in. So it just takes away some options. I think here you maybe have an option there, maybe something back here. But just keep that in mind. The smaller it is, the less options you're going to have for hole locations. If you're looking for ideas, think of the templates, the famous template holes and Eden holes, a par 3 about 175 yards-ish, that would slope back to front strongly, and it has a series of bunkers, a Strath bunker, a Shelley bunker, an Eden bunker. That's where it gets its name, and a hazard kind of behind it. So this isn't an Eden, but it's kind of almost Eden-esque. Use those for inspiration. You don't have to be a golf architecture geek like I am, but those are famous holes for a reason. They've stood the test of time for a reason. You don't have to copy them exactly or be exact on, do you need a Strath bunker here or a Shelley bunker there? All those holes have variations. You see people's interpretations of them all over the place. In real life and here on PGA Tour 2K23. Look at that chipping. There's some short game for you. But look to those templates for ideas, especially if you're stuck, for ideas or trying to figure out what to do with a hole. Again, all right, these $2 is a little bit better, bud. So here we are on 5. Okay, we've got a full fairway to let it rip. Tell you what, there's not much going on here because you got the bunkers way back here. So I'm not sure why those are there. They don't do anything for you. So like I said, if you're going to have driver and then you're going to have a 3-wood option, I don't know. So let's take a look at the green. Fairly flat, and you got those big hills behind it. Something you can do here is move those 2 bunkers there. Just gave me an idea. You could move those in, almost make this I just mentioned Donald Ross, a Donald Rossi hole. Have it almost a heroic carry type of thing, cross bunkers out here. Because if you look at this off the tee, you've got, I can see bunkers on the left, bunkers on the right, but they're totally not in play with driver. Put them a little bit more in play, move them down, and have this hole go left to right, have the fairway go left to right. Then you've got a kind of a little bit of a heroic carry over some bunkers somewhere in here. And it's a left to right hole, and then make the green maybe a little bit more of a right to left shot. You kind of got a Donald Ross switchback hole. The other thing you could do is look at the green here. Look behind. There's a big hill. Flatten those out. That looks kind of weird. If you bring those down gradually, and now you have a hill, and the general slope of the land goes this way. I'll put a graphic in. Across the green. You can have the green slope severely this way, and I would bring that hill out. The more I think of it, actually what you can do is elevate this green. Have this green, I mean, you've got very, very flat land and also those big hills in the back. Flatten it out, and then you have a green that's going to look natural. Obviously, you have to get rid of that bunker in the back. But it fits into the slope of the land, into the hills, and I would elevate that green. Now, be careful, any new designers, don't elevate your greens too much. 10, 20 yards is big, so you don't want to get carried away, and you've got to flatten the front of that green, or smooth the front of that green entrance if you do it. But I think that's a good opportunity there for a nice elevated green, almost a Donald Rossi hole, if you bring that hill down and out and into the area of the green. It's going to take a lot of flattening and sculpting, but I think that's a good way to make that interesting. All right? Because right here, this is just blah. There's nothing doing. Okay, the splines need to be smoothed and straightened. Again, I keep saying how much I got to do a video on that, but I do see that often. I think it's simple stuff. It is simple to do, folks. It's not rocket science. It is easy stuff. It's just tedious work, and you've got to just do it right. Bounce, bounce, trickle. Am I going to get up that hill or come back? Nope. That's fine. That's fair. Although it's a little close, I would probably either smooth that and move it back a little. Another chip in. Look at this. Alright. We're going to 6. Par 5. Talking a little strategy. Okay, so what's going on here? Up and down over the hill here. And this is a 5? 5, yeah, 4. Wow, 544. Looks like a 4. It's actually a little deceiving from there. All right, so again, there's not much doing here. So you've got a fairway, not much going on either side. You can do that, nothing wrong with that. You've got a decently sized fairway here. The fairway ends, but it's way down there. Here though, I'm not sure exactly why it ends. There's not really a reason. So let's see what you can do here. Same kind of thing. Let's look at the green. So I kind of like that. It's off on an angle. It's a bit different shape. It's bigger. You might see this on a par 4 more. You could put a bunker in. Sorry, I know I moved that camera around. I'll leave it. You could put a bunker in the front right in that little valley there. That would be interesting, but that would prevent you from running the ball up and using the ground. So that's what you got to decide. How you want folks coming into this green. What you could do is put a smallish bunker in that hill right there. And then I'm not sure why the fairway wraps around the green here. you could bring the fairway in and not wrap it around and bring it in on the left side, and then have that be rough off on the right side, and even a smallish bunker on the right side. That would prevent you from running the ball up. That would be a tough location there. But you can definitely run the ball up the left side. And then you could put a slope in. I'm looking at the general slope in the land here, folks. Can't tell which way it goes. The general slope of this land would probably go from right to left. So what I was thinking is you could elevate the left side and kind of use the hill to bring it in. You can still do that. That's up to you. But the shot off the tee's got no strategy here. So I would put, and you don't necessarily need it on a par 5 tee shot. You want to sometimes give them the shot, but you got to think about what that shot is. So I would give them more room here to come in off the side. So I think what you could do here maybe is move this fairway out a bit and put a bunker way up there, about 310, 320, almost like a small pot bunker, to make it a little bit more of a challenge, where you might want to shape your shot a little left to right, and then you're not, the further left you are, the better. And then the same thing over here. You don't need a bunker there necessarily. You could keep it simple and just kind of maybe have that one bunker on the left. But you got to think about that shot in and whether or not you want a small bunker in front or just kind of leave it like that. But that's a little steep. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you could keep it that way. It's just, what's the general idea here? So that is a terrible shot. Wouldn't it be a bad idea to have some bunkers over there? Although the rough is worse. Again, so there's no reason to split those fairways right there. So I'm not sure if you're doing that because it's just easier to do that front section of fairway and then do that second section. But to me, all in, it doesn't take that much more time. You just got to get used to doing it that way. So maybe that's what's going on. It's easier to do the front section of fairway and then worry about around the green. But it does look a little odd. And no. So the greens are rolling very reasonably. There's no crazy slopes. Definitely could touch them up here and there, but don't see any issues per se with them. Other than, you might want to make them a little more interesting. If you make them bigger, you could put some slopes and make them a little more interesting. All right, this is 440. You've got a bunker off on the left. There's really no strategic value there. But again, you can always do these things for visual purposes. There's no harm in that in realism. You might see something like that in real life. So even though that's not in play, that's not a bad visual. You've got to lower that ground in front of that bunker, make it a little bit more visible, just for aesthetics. Because I know I would hit that bunker in real life. 248 out. Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely a little flip hook waiting to happen. So there's not much doing out here. Again, the splining is uneven, so you really got to work on getting those splines even. And you've stopped it again in front of the green, and that just looks a little silly. So for this one, you definitely could just play with this curve here. Maybe put some bunkers out here, because I think you want this approach to come from over here. So I would take, you could take this fairway and curve it a little and curve it around some bunkers out here, something like that. Maybe put a little bit more of a slope in here, so you can play one off this slope and get it down that way. But you definitely want to be right on this shot. And you've got tiers. Oh, you got tiers on this green, so we'll talk about that in a second. And then you can play with the visual with the bunkers on the right. So you got 2 tiers. First time you've done that, which is fine, which is good. You don't want to go to the well too often with tiers. You want to make them pretty subtle. That's pretty good right there. I might bring that down a little bit right there. and that you need when you do a tier, you need enough room on the tier. So that's a little small because your green again is small. So again, I would make this a little bigger, bring it out a little bit, especially in the back, and then flatten it down this way. These positioning on the bunkers are okay. I don't know what these are doing out here. These should be out maybe up in here somewhere. And again, let's look here. I don't know what you're doing with the fairway splines here. So if you're doing a fairway that's not truncated for a real reason, you got to do it all at once. So the more I'm thinking of it, the more I think you're probably doing one fairway bunker and then doing the spline around the green at the end. You got to do it at the same time because you get this and it looks silly. The bunkering looks okay. It looks a little steep. That's not that bad. So again, we haven't looked at the bunkers too much. They're a little bathtubby on each side. See what I mean there? It's kind of shaped like a bathtub. So you got to kind of pick the high side, the low side, and then flatten towards the low side is the general idea. All right. So there is enough room there. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying you can give it a little bit more room. But I like the idea of the smaller greens, if that's what you're going for. But you just give them a little more room. All right, 8th hole. It's about the same length. So, and did the spline just leave me there? That's a little odd. So be careful of your splines. I think it left me in the front of the green, which is going to be odd if the hole's in the back. So again, this is about a 175-yard hole. Same as the first par 3. You want to vary them up, folks. So your par 3s, you want to vary. If you're going to have 4 of them, like most of you are, have them be different lengths. Have a shorter one, a mid-length one, a longer one, and then maybe a real long one, right? You don't want them all to be the same length. And I'm thinking of this because there's a course around here that I play at least once or twice a year. I hit the same club on like every par 3. I hit a 7-iron, like no matter what hole it is, and they're all kind of the same. So it gets kind of boring and repetitive. So you want to do different challenges and think of different ideas in the par 3s, especially keep in mind the direction. You do want to try to get the par 3s going in different directions so the wind's having a different effect on them. Because if you have all your holes about 173 yards and going in similar directions and the wind's going to be at your back, you're hitting the same club every time. So keep that in mind. If you can do that and you incorporate that in your design, go right ahead. If you're trying to recreate something, it is what it is, right? So I like the unique shape bunker there. I like that. I like you got the big strands of light rough going around here. I think that slope is a little much on the green. Sorry, I was going on and on about the direction. I do think that slope is a little much. That's much more than your other greens, especially one that size. So I'd smooth that out. All right, hole 9. Let's wrap this one up. I can see from here the tee box is not flat. And we are going down here and off to the left. Off to the left. No, we're going to the right. Where is the green? The green's up on the hill. All right, so this is visually kind of odd. This threw me for a curve to start. So let's think about this. The water's off to the left, right? So the hole is at the fairway's moving off to, I'm sorry, the water is off to the right. The fairway's moving off to the left. And then it looks like the green is down there way off to the left, but it's on that hill and the right. I thought that was another green. So I was wondering where the green was. So this is visually kind of odd. It just threw me for a loop. You would think a hole like this, if it's moving down, would move to the water. So I would think this fairway goes from up here down towards the water. You don't have a bunker here, and it's a narrow fairway. That's fine. If you think about, I did a hole like this, which was based on a real life hole. Cuyahoga 16 was based on, was it Inverness 16? I forget which 16, or was it Scioto? One of those two, where it bends left to right, up a hill and then back down a hill around trees, narrow. So you can do this. I like that concept, but I would think it's going the other way. And the green would be off that way, off to the right. The green is kind of straight on. So I don't know what else is up there. I can't tell. But you might want to move that green off to the right and have this go left to right. And then that second fairway there just looks odd. I don't know. It's going off to the left, which just is misleading. So let's hit the shot and then we'll talk about that in a second. But I think this way, if you have because you use the natural slope of the land, you want this to be the high side and this to be the low side, and put a couple trees, kind of, you're kicking a field goal through them at about 275, and then it kind of looks pretty off the tee. You want to just bend one left to right like this, off the tee through the tree line, right? You can put a nice tree line in there, not too many on the right, and have a pretty tee shot that takes the ball this way, and then you got to bend one left to right into the hole, because this way it just feels weird. It's going off here. I would think this is off over here. What do you have here? A tee box for another hole. That's the first tee. Okay, so you don't have much room because this is the ninth hole. That makes sense to me. You can maybe swing that tee box out somewhere else. You could. The green there is fine if you move the fairway way out to the left, and then this just going this way doesn't make any sense. I would make this kind of come out in here and then stop right here. And again, now this is a great example of a hole. Good job. Where you stop the fairway, where there's no green entrance from the fairway. So we talked about that in my videos. Absolutely, a hole like this where it's elevated, you just move the fairway out to here. No green entrance, right? Green surrounded by rough. Awesome. That's exactly where you would use it. I would give you, again, this is a 5. That's way too narrow, I think. I would, again, give yourself a little bit more room. You've got an indent here. I'm not sure if you're thinking of putting a bunker in. Not a bad idea. It's a shortish 5. Excuse me, folks. Yeah, I think that's the shortest 5. I think you could put a bunker in there if you really wanted, and then maybe definitely extend the screen out left to right and give it more depth. And I think you got a killer hole if you do that, because with the river and everything in there, it's going to look really pretty. So that'd be a really fun, pretty, scenic end to the first 9. So this hole's got potential. It's just a little awkward at first. But you're on the right track. There you go. Take that. Finish the front 9 with the bird. Okay, so that's it for this episode of PGA Tour 2K23 Casual Coaching Tips. We're going to stop it here. We'll go through the back 9 another time. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on here, but I want to give it my full attention, and I just can't get to it. So Gib is on to something. It's much improved. So all you newer designers out there, definitely keep an eye and ear out for my videos. There's a whole host of other folks from TGC Tours or PGA 2K21 even. Those years have some great videos about basic strategy and ways to enhance your design. So the design community is a big one, and everyone's willing to lend a hand. So hopefully this is helpful. We will be back soon with another one. Please do like and subscribe. I got to remember to say that in the beginning, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And then look out for another video I have coming soon. I am going to play a special course called the Lido, and go through the full 18 holes as a casual preview. So bye for now, but we will be back very, very soon, I promise. Take care, and thank you so much for watching.